Hello and welcome to Part 2 Uni, part of Southampton Sessions podcast series. I'm Houda and today we're diving into a topic that comes up every year as we approach results day, clearing. We're here at the Highfield campus studio and this episode is all about what clearing is, how it works, what you need to know, and if you find yourself considering the route of clearing. Whether your results were different to what you expected, you missed the condition of your offer, or you simply just changed your mind about where and what to study, clearing could be your route to the right course. Joining me is Justine, who studies mechanical engineering, and Yazmin, who studies politics and economics. And we all came to Southampton through clearing. And we're here to chat to you about our experiences and hopefully offer some advice and reassurance. To keep us grounded in the facts, Emma, our admissions manager, will be giving us the inside scoop on how clearing works behind the scenes. We will also be joined by our special guest, Angelina, Director of UCAS Media and former Head of Strategic Marketing here at Southampton, to add her valued knowledge and trusted voice to the conversation. Let's start with the basics. Emma, can you tell us what clearing really is?
Yeah, so clearing is a way into university after the 30th of June deadline's passed. It's for students who are looking for maybe alternative courses, or it helps them find the course or university that suits them best.
So historically, a lot of people, when they think of clearing, they assume it's just because they might not have gotten the results or they just didn't get into the university that they wanted to. But actually, there are so many other reasons why they might go through clearing.
Yeah, you're totally correct. So people come through clearing for a variety of different reasons. So perhaps they didn't apply in the main cycle because they were waiting to see what results they got. And now they've kind of got their results. They're thinking, yeah, I know exactly what I want to do. Maybe they were just unsure about whether to apply to university at all. You've also got people that have changed their mind about what course or university they want to study at. So clearing enables them to sort of see what other options are available to them. And there come results day, people may wake up in the morning and achieve better grades than they thought they were, so they then going to try and upgrade their offer, see where the vacancies might be, and even people who maybe didn't get the results that they wanted, didn't get into the firm choice, so then they need to see what alternative options are available to them if they still want to go to university in September.
Amazing. So if I think that clearing is for me, how would I really go about that?
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to say, actually, it's a really interesting thing before we just move on to kind of how you go about it, is that, so according to UCAS, around 50,000 people find their place through clearing every year. And we've already talked about the reasons why, people do go into clearing, but there are certain percentage splits as well. For example, 28% of people applied directly to clearing for the first time and 23% were mind changers. They decided, that they wanted to do a different course. Yeah, so could be phrased a bit differently, but yeah, they changed their mind and 18% did better than expected. So okay, what's the process? Right. So clearing opens in early July. And any applications received after the 30th of June will go directly into the clearing process. So that's for people who haven't yet applied at all. In terms of in early July, so universities will publish the courses that they have spaces in and also the grades. The vacancies that may be slightly different for home and overseas students. Both are eligible for clearing, by the way. So it's important to check carefully kind of what you're eligible for. And also the grades may be different to what you're expecting based on kind of when you looked at the course pages earlier in the cycle. The grades in clearing often are different. So if you've already got your results, then you can search at the university you're interested in, or even UCAS, to see what courses are available, and then apply directly to universities online. If you haven't got your results yet, and this is important because clearing is for people who've already got their results, then you can sign up for updates from universities. So say you're waiting for your A-level results to come through in August, and you're thinking, I'm not sure about my firm choice. You can start saying, okay, what vacancies are there available, and then sign up, and then you'll be notified at results day what vacancies there are available, because things do change. Universities may fill up through early clearing and then not to have so many spaces at main clearing. It really, really depends. So worth starting to have a look if you're kind of having doubts, or maybe you think, I'm not sure about whether I'm going to get my grades.
Thank you. That was so helpful. Speaking from my own experience, I remember when I went through clearing, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of followed the instructions, but it did cause a bit of panic. So it's really helpful to see that actually it's pretty much laid out for you.
Yeah, so UCAS has some really helpful guidance as well if you're kind of unsure. We're going to talk through the nuts and bolts a bit more in this podcast, but there's so many sources of information, including, your advisors and teachers at school as well and college. And I think, the research you do in advance of considering clearing is going to depend on kind of why you're going through clearing. So someone who's not applied yet and who's using clearing to make their application to university is going to be thinking about different things, compared to somebody who's considering, okay, is that choice right for me? Or, my grades are better kind of thing. So yeah.
Right. So that just brings on the chat now. Like, I want to find out more about how you guys felt. So let's jump to it straight away. It's results day. How are we feeling? I want to hear about your experiences. How did you go about it? If you felt okay, was there like an anxiety, or was it just kind of like a smooth process and you kind of prepared for clearing before you actually went through it?
For me personally, I did not meet the grades I needed for my firm, and basically I wasn't too sure about clearing, but it was something I researched a bit beforehand because I had that not feeling, but rather a bit of anxiety of like, what if I don't get in? What is my plan, sort of thing. So I did a bit of research into the universities that were like good for the course I wanted to do, and just had that in mind. And once I got my grades, after I did get rejected from my firm, I was able to call the University of Southampton and just let them know my grades and why I wanted to go through clearing. And it was actually quite easy. It was just, it's great, you meet the requirements. And I was like, oh, thank you. So it was quite nice. What about you?
Well, my experience was a bit more different, I would say. Before coming to the University of Southampton, I went to a different university. I just realized it just wasn't the right fit for me. It just didn't mesh well. And so I was just working and I was like, wait a second, clearing is an option for me. Like, I don't need to stay at a university that I'm not happy with. And like, I had the chance to come to Southampton on an open day, and it just worked quite well for me, and it worked quite naturally. I like the greenery, I like the scenery, and I was more interested in the course here. And so on my lunch break, I just called up the university, said, hey, I'm interested in joining you guys. And they asked me a bunch of questions, had a bit of back and forth, and they were like, perfect, apply for UCAS and we're going to accept you straight away. So by the time my work day was over, I had a place in Southampton and I was ready to pack my bags. So yeah, it was brilliant. Quick, easy, simple. And yeah, I realized I made a very good decision.
Amazing. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, as I was like saying earlier, my experience to going through clearing was kind of very sudden. I already had a place in university, and then I just decided to defer my year so that I can start a bit later. I knew I wanted to work, just take some time and spend time with my family before moving out. And then I remember waking up on results day of like my deferred year. So I already had my A-levels, and I was like, actually, I don't want to go to this uni. It's quite far. It's not as convenient. The prospect of the actual university like modules and stuff didn't really align with what I wanted for myself. So I was like, I remember looking at Southampton and thinking this one's a good potential for me. So I just went into the website and I saw that they had clearing options for my course, and I was like, great. They had two types of nursing fields, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this one or this one, so I'm just going to apply to both, and then whichever one I get, I'll go with that. And then it was very, very smooth. I got an interview within half an hour and accepted within an hour, and I was like, okay, looks like I'm going to Southampton as well. Yeah, so hearing that process, I personally used the laptop to go through this, but you said you phoned them?
Yeah, I phoned them. So like, because my laptop was on my desk at the time, I was just like, oh, I'll just call them up, find out what they say. And yeah, they were quite happy. They just asked for my grades and gave my grades to them, and that was it. done and dusted.
Amazing. Justine, you said you phoned them as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so I initially did like the interest form and as well like tried to do the web form, but I had heard from like social media that sometimes those don't get through as well. So I was a bit worried about that. So I was like, I might as well make sure and call. And I felt a lot more confident with the replies I got from that.
I can see that we've all went through different emotions. You said you were feeling a bit anxious about it, didn't really know what was going on. You kind of made a decision. You're like, actually, I wanted to do something else, quite similar to me. So it is a bit of a mix of emotion, I would say. So clearing does not necessarily mean anything bad. It's not, we shouldn't really associate negative emotions to clearing, but it does happen. And that's why it's very important that if we can talk to people, we talk to people. So did you guys talk to anyone about this? Did you guys speak to your schools, to your universities? Did anyone help you prepare for it?
Because I sort of did it on the day, I sort of spoke to a few of my friends. I was sort of entertaining the idea before results day. And I was like to them, oh, do you think I should go for it? I didn't feel too confident. But then like after a bit of encouragement, I felt motivated. And I was like, yes, you're right. This is the right choice for me. Because if I'm not happy like going to a university and I'm not satisfied with the course, then I should go somewhere where I feel like I'm valued more and I feel more happier in. So yeah, I think that I've sort of went to my friends and stuff, and that definitely helped a lot for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I did have that bit of hope of maybe I could get into my firm in my situation. So I didn't really talk about it, but I did have it planned out on my little diary. And I was like, in case something happens, I have a little bit of a plan, basically.
Yeah, that's really, really good. But it's also okay if you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier something about the web form and that you were worried that it was going to take a little bit longer. So I want to direct this question to Emma. How would you say to go about it? Is there a better option? Is there a different time response?
Yeah, so I said that, at main clearing, we've got our phone lines open and we make sure we've got lots of staff available and lines to take calls. But we also manage the web form as well. So we've got staff members constantly monitoring that and responding to applications. So there shouldn't be any difference between the response times. Once your application's been reviewed, whether that is on the phone or via a form, then you get your decision as quickly as possible. I think the thing is the web form could be really convenient for someone who is not able to sort of take calls, and it opens sort of first thing, so you could be in bed still just like doing your form and not have to worry about speaking to anyone. But yeah, it's both routes are possible, and as we've already discussed as well, there's the UCAS system which sort of suggests courses to you. I think it can suggest up to like 50 courses or something like that, so you can have a look through and see which ones you want. I mean, just out of interest, how did you sort of kind of shortlist or find out what the vacancies or work out what vacancies were?
From what I remember, I do remember thinking I went into the website.
Yeah.
And it did say that it was available. So I did the web form, obviously, first. And then I was like, oh, I'm kind of anxious about it. Cold. Then got the offer from the call. And literally like 5 minutes after that phone call like shut, it was like, the email was like, yeah, you got in through the web form. And I was like, oh,
okay. So yeah.
It was just pretty sure.
Yeah. So I know some people might like feel more confident speaking to someone, right, on the phone and know that. But yeah, there shouldn't be any difference between kind of the service level between the two ways of contacting us through clearing. But I would say always, if we're talking about Southampton and what we do, but there might be differences with sort of other universities and how they run clearing on their end.
With that being said, there are many ways to apply through UCAS. So Emma, can you talk us through them?
There are different ways students can apply through clearing. So as you've already said, there's the phone and also our web form. UCAS also do like a matching process that I know of as Clearing Plus, but I think when I was looking up things before we had our chat today, I think they call it something like clearing matches. But they'll suggest some courses that kind of fit your profile, your what subjects you've studied and your grade, so that you can also kind of click on some of those options, and it will take that would take your application straight through to a university. So there's sort of three options. If you're applying to clearing kind of earlier before main results day, then usually it's mainly web forms that you apply, but main clearing is kind of when we have lots and lots of people on our phone lines sort of ready to take calls, and our aim is not to have a very long wait, and if at all, and to get an offer out to you as soon as possible if you meet the requirements. So popular courses and at certain institutions fill up really quickly. So as you know, it's kind of like as soon as you think, oh, actually, I don't know if I think I might want to consider my options and go through clearing. Sometimes you are in clearing because, as you say, you don't get accepted by your firm institution, but sometimes people were like we think of as shopping around, like they're holding a place somewhere else, but they're like, oh, I don't know, actually I did better, let me just see what's out there. So you can just go and apply to universities, you can apply to as many as you want, and then you get the offers, and then you can kind of look at them all. They will have deadlines, so it's important that you respond by the deadline to secure your place, but usually we give about 3 to 4 days for people to kind of consider their options, and once you're made an offer, it's usually followed up with a call from the academic in the department. You guys haven't spoken about that bit, but did an academic call you and talk to you about the course?
I believe we had our faculty lead. I'm not 100% sure, but she does one of my modules right now, and it was just nice hearing that someone was like looking forward to seeing me and being part of the university. And also, like, because I do engineering, just talking to another woman was quite nice as well.
I think I might know who it is for us. And also we have our clearing, there's like a visit day as well. So again, we give the opportunity for students who may not have actually visited Southampton to kind of go and, as you were talking about, see if it's the right fit for you. So whilst you want to try and get those offers as quickly as possible, there is usually, I can speak for Southampton, not necessarily all the universities across the sector, but we recognise it's a time when there's a lot of decisions to be made, and we try and give you as much information sort of as possible to make them. The one thing I didn't mention was around kind of other selection parts to the process, and you talked about that really well, Houda. Like you applied through clearing, and then you needed to come for an interview, and a lot of our health sciences courses just have that little extra step where you talk to a course lead just to check that your personal values and things like that align with, and you know what you're getting yourself into if you want to go on and do a vocational course like health science, nursing. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that. But for most courses, it would be a case of you apply to the university via phone or online, and then if you meet the criteria, you get an offer almost instantly.
Yeah, that was lovely. On that note, we touched about this briefly, I want to say, when you said you had notes written just in case you didn't get into your firm. So, Justine, I want to ask you first, how did you prepare for clearing? What did you do? Did you like make notes of your UCAS ID, or like did you just kind of have a list of universities you knew you wanted to look into if you didn't get into your firm? Can you talk us through that process? What was that?
Well, my process, I kind of just looked at UCAS universities and what requirements they had, because I had not really much idea of what type of grades I was going to get, but I was just thinking about most possibilities and what was more realistic for the grades I would have gotten. So I kind of looked at universities that I knew were close to me and looked appealing, not too far, and had the grade requirements I was looking for, basically. And it was just scrolling through UCAS and seeing if they had any interest forms of the clearing and being like, I'm interested, please email me when results day happens, basically.
Yeah.
And that was quite easy.
Yeah. So it's good to know that that's quite easy, so you don't kind of have to stress too much about it. It's just a matter of taking time and looking through the different prospects. So Yazmin, you said you went about it a bit differently, but did you take any time to prep for it? Did you do anything in specific that kind of helped you, with the clearing process?
I think I did touch upon the idea of entertaining the idea of choosing a different university. So I did look at my options as well, because the first thing I knew is the course I was doing, economics and politics, that's something I'm quite passionate about. So I wanted to just do it at a different university. So I just looked at my options, I sort of weighed them, and then I sort of had like 2 or 3 choices that I wanted to do. And then I sort of shortlisted them through open days or there were virtual days. And then sort of on the day, I was sort of prepared and I sort of was like, okay, I know what option I want to go for now. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm here today.
Amazing. Again, with me, I think I'm going to touch up on this, even though this is not exactly clearing. I think this was what made it very easy for me to pick Southampton. It's I was looking at the different modules that Southampton offered, and they very much aligned with what I wanted to study and the kind of topics that I feel like I was passionate about and wanted to learn more about and apply after I graduate. I like one of the things is, for example, Southampton is one of the universities within the nursing course that actually offer an elective placement. Obviously, a lot of universities do have that as well, but it's not necessarily integrated into the course. However, with Southampton, I was like, oh my God, yes, I want to do this. And the university was so supportive with that whole prospect. So when I was looking through clearing, making sure that the things the university has to offer is very important, and luckily that's all in the clearing website as well, because they give you all the information that you need. It's just kind of, you have to scroll a little bit further down and you'll see it right there.
I think I need to come in really and talk about you got offers. Did you apply to different universities and then wait to see what offers you were made? Is that right?
Yes.
Both of you and yourself?
Yeah.
Because I suppose you get, you're in a position where you've got a few offers, hopefully, and you determine, okay, which one do I want to choose? You're kind of going through that decision-making process. So the next stage, once you've decided which one you want to go for, is to add that choice in UCAS. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah. Feels like a blur now.
Yeah. So that you put your choice in UCAS. You can't be holding a firm offer to do that. There's a functionality now. It didn't used to be there, but it's made so much easier for students now to decline their place. So that's the unconditional firm. If you're conditional firm, then that's usually because you've not met some of the conditions that were part of your offer. So the best thing to do is, have a chat with the university that you're holding your conditional firm offer with. But if you really don't want to take that up, then you can contact UCAS and they can sort of release you into clearing. And then the students who aren't holding any offers elsewhere, then they will be automatically in clearing. So as I said, the key thing is kind of to take note of any deadlines that are in your clearing offer, make sure. And then once universities have then received your choice, you can do that usually from 1:00 on the main results day. Then you should get your university ID number at Southampton. That means you can go and apply for accommodation, which is obviously a massively important thing kind of when you're thinking about going through clearing, isn't it? To know how And most, your offer will either come with a accommodation guarantee, or sometimes it's not included. I think it just depends on kind of, what the availability is. But we know how important it is for students to have accommodation, and they're sort of, to know that that's being sorted for them. I think the thing I would say is, if you're thinking that, you're not sure about the course, but you're still interested in your firm institution. So, ahead of results day, you're thinking, do you know what? I applied for mechanical, but I'm thinking actually aeronautics and astronautics would probably be better for me. I'd always encourage anyone to just get in touch with the firm institution, because it's better not to decline your place and then go to the same university for a different course, just because it can cause issues for accommodation and things like that. So, if you're changing your mind and you think actually Southampton, for example, may still have something for me, then do reach out and speak to us, because we're more than happy to sort of talk through your options.
Yeah, great. And I did want to point out as well, I originally, when I applied for Southampton before my gap year when I was still in sixth form, I got rejected from Southampton. And then, I did. And so I didn't actually get a place. I was quite upset. I knew it was the university I wanted to go into. And then I accepted another offer from another university that was equally as good as well, but again, not what I wanted for myself. Actually, at no point did I think I was going to apply to clearing and apply for Southampton again. But I just wanted to point out that even if you get rejected from the university originally, you can apply again for the university if you get the grades.
It's a very important point. And I think 50% of applicants are placed in clearing through one of their original 5 choices. So it might be that, you were unsuccessful originally, but it might just be that you didn't shortlist us, right? And you just think, but later you go, do you know what? I've done the research before, and now I'm like, now I know that it's possible options. So I don't know if that was the case for you, whether you'd originally considered Southampton when.
So for me, not really.
Okay.
It was sort of not one I chose, but I did know quite a few friends that also cleared in my flat, and they applied originally, got rejected, and just applied again through clearing. So it was quite easy for them.
Yeah. I mean, in my case, well, I mean, I obviously applied the previous year, so unfortunately Southampton wasn't in my options that year, but it was in my options the year after I realised the university that I was in, it just didn't work out for me. Yeah.
So if we move on from that, I want to know what you would advise someone who's thinking about clearing, or just like, what's your best piece of advice, or something that you could tell you if you could go back in time and just like you just have that in mind?
I'd probably say don't stress like me, really. I think I took it way too seriously in comparison with how easy the process was. And also, I wasn't the only one at my school that was doing it. And I think I just felt quite alone at the start, and then realised, no, it's not just me. That's looking into a new option, basically, which is quite nice.
I mean, if I could, go back in time and tell myself something, I guess it would be like you said, like, not to be too harsh on myself. I think I pushed myself a bit hard, and I didn't think about like my choice or my decision. I sort of felt like I had to take everything into account. And so when I made the choice the year after through clearing, I was like, I know this is my choice. I know this is my decision. And and it felt quite nice making that choice and making a decision that I'm quite happy with now in the long term. The other thing I would definitely say is it doesn't matter if you had time off, you decided to work straight after sixth form. Like, you could always come to university. Like, the University of Southampton, they're very accommodating towards mature students. So, if you're working and you want to come here to study, go ahead. It's a brilliant opportunity, and you'll meet a lot of amazing people here and learn a lot of cool things as well. So, yeah.
Amazing. I'm trying to think. My advice to someone would just be that it works out. As simple as it may sound, I think everything works out one way or another. Not stressing about it, knowing that there's still opportunity. You will never run out of time to attend university. There are people that go back to university years later after they've realized, actually, I don't want to do something, or they just want another qualification, another degree. It's never too late, like you said. But yeah, it all works out. I think enjoying the process and taking time and making sure that you don't feel rushed to apply to university is very important, because at the end of the day, this is kind of what's the word?
It's an investment, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's financially and time. It's your own individual path. So no one can tell you what's right or wrong. It's like what you think, is the right thing for you.
And there will always be something out there for you.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be university, it doesn't have to be clearing, but you'll find it one way or another.
There was a talk that I went to in the university, and there was a PhD researcher. She was going into her 40s, and she was like to everyone in the room, she was like, you guys are in the springtime of your youth, so make the most out of it. Like, no matter what stage of your life you're in, make the most out of your life and enjoy what life brings you. So
I think clearing is a good mechanism. If you've not applied to university yet, that's the way, after the 30th of June, you can kind of be considered. But also for some people, they change their minds. For some people, things don't work out as planned. And as you said, it's quite a smooth mechanism to getting into university, really. But I think, as you've illustrated, if you've kind of a little bit prepared, you've done a bit of research, it's just, don't want to stress yourself out, but you put yourself in a good position, really thinking through your options, and then you can be a bit calmer, kind of, because things do, the reality is things do move quickly, right? At clearing, courses fill up, but equally, maybe, as we've talked about, it's not necessarily right to go that year. I took a year out as well, so I'm in the year out club. And I went to university, the year after, and it was fine. You find you realise actually, as you said, there are lots of different ages, people in different positions on a degree, aren't they? It's not everyone is the same. It's not homogenous. So.
Yeah, and it's accessible. I think it's important to just make note of that. UCAS is accessible. It is. You can just do it as many times as you need to, and clearing is a good form of rerouting your path.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Yeah, just. It's good. I think it's fine. Just associating the word with another opportunity rather than a failure is
exactly
a good way to go about it.
Yeah, and as I said, 50,000 people get placed in clearing every year, so that's not an insubstantial amount, is it? But there's a lot of other people that kind of go a different way as well. So
Yeah.
Perfect. So, we did discuss about clearing and then accommodation briefly, but this is such an issue, or more sort of like an anxiety that I think students have when they're applying for university, when they come through clearing. It's like, oh my God, I've applied through clearing. I don't know if I'm going to have an accommodation. And it's a very valid concern, especially if you're someone who's moving out. You want to be somewhere local. You want to be on campus, maybe halls. And it is, a lot of universities are first come, first serve type of basis. So I want to just touch upon that. Like, how was that for you guys? What was your experience with accommodation through clearing?
My case was as soon as I sort of applied on the 18th, they gave me guaranteed accommodation. So they let me do the whole little rankings and stuff. But they were like, it is subject to availability, as obviously the first set of students that did have like offers already, they already had first priority or first dibs, as they say, to choose what accommodations they got. But yeah, luckily in my case, I did get my first choice, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Perfect.
So I also got availability in terms of having accommodation from the university, and it was just quite easy ranking them. However, I did not get my first choice, but it was fine. I ended up loving it, to be honest, and the area I was in, so it all worked out in the end, sort of thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you guys had such smooth experience with that. I want to say that my experience was not the same. The university was so supportive. It had nothing to do with the support from the university, rather it was just because it was through clearing and I had a bit more requirements. I needed a better facility option. It was a bit more of a longer process for me. However, the university was so supportive with it. So I applied for specific accommodations, didn't really get any of the ones that I wanted to on time. So I ended up in a different accommodation that was in one of the other campuses. I was in Winchester, so Erasmus accommodation. I was there for a month only, and then as soon as I contacted the student hub and I was like, look, most of my lectures take place on Highfield. It's a bit of a treacherous journey for me, even though again the university does have direct bus and coach services that just run through from that campus to this campus, and they were like, okay, so we can change that for you on like 1 month in. We have a service that opens in October, and if you just tell us and we can rearrange that for you. So yeah, within a month I was moved all the way back to Highfield, and it was a smooth process. But it does happen that you're not going to get a guaranteed accommodation directly to the one that you want, but
I think I said earlier as well, we do make offers with accommodation guaranteed, but that isn't always the same every year. It depends on numbers, but the most important thing is you realise, applying for accommodation, it's an separate application, and there'll be a deadline with it, and everyone will be considered equally, apart from people who've got additional needs that need to be taken into account and that sort of thing. And I know from my experience the previous year, the university it went and spoke to private providers and where it wasn't possible to accommodate people in University of Southampton halls, we made every effort to try and find places for people. And I've made many phone calls during clearing trying to help people out. The top tip I would give, so if anyone has made Southampton their insurance choice, do make sure you apply for your accommodation by the deadline, just to make sure that if you do end up coming to your insurance choice, and you do get accommodation. So
I initially picked Wessex and Glen.
Okay.
So when I got my flower, I was like, oh, it's a bit far.
A bit further.
Yeah, it's a bit further. But at least it was close to city centre.
And slightly newer?
Or
it was slightly newer, more.
Yeah.
They are more modern, aren't they?
Yeah, it was a very I think it probably was a different environment from what I've heard to Essex and Glen, because it was a smaller accommodation, or at least tall, like width wise sort of thing. So you interacted with a lot of people daily, which I ended up enjoying quite a lot. So
It's cool. What accommodation were you in?
Oh, I was also in small halls. So I was in Archers Road, so a bit close to city centre like yourself. And the nice thing is, though, when you're in student accommodations, you get free laundry, which is fun.
Yeah.
Did you have free laundry?
You got free laundry, yes.
Oh,
And
I didn't.
oh, goodness. And we actually did have a free Unilink bus pass, so traveling into campus wasn't too much of an issue. So I could literally like get up like maybe an hour before classes and just quickly hurry to the bus stop, and I'm at campus the next minute.
Yeah.
So it was really nice. And every day I wasn't always on campus, so I still had stuff to do in city centre, because there's so much to do in city centre. Like there's the theatre, cinema, and there's West Key, so always something to do every day.
Yeah, I was also in Mayflower. I loved it. That was after I moved from the Winchester accommodation. I personally loved Mayflower. It was my top choice. I had a really, really good experience in that accommodation. I enjoyed actually that it was a bit further away from campus. It gave me sort of like the morning to just collect my thought on the bus. And like you said, the bus pass is included in your rent price, so you don't have to worry about paying for that, which is just another nice worry off your shoulder.
Okay, now you're through the other side, so you came through clearing. Do you regret that decision, or you totally, you're happy?
I'm quite happy personally.
Yeah.
I think it was just, it's not something I really think about that often. It's just kind of like, well, I'm at uni and then I focus on my course more. It was such like a quick part of the process that it just kind of like, you move on from it, but no regrets. I'm at university. It's a really good university for my course as well. So I'm very happy with the modules and everything.
What about you? Yes.
Yeah, quite similar thoughts as well. When like I first arrived, I was like a bit scared, a bit nervous, a bit teary-eyed, because I was saying bye to my family for the first time, like in my whole life. But once I sort of went into my accommodation, I spoke to my flatmates, and then I made the journey. For some reason, I decided to walk all the way to campus. Don't do that when you first move in. Don't do that. But the moment I was there, I think it's called like Union Saturday, something like that. So they have like these small little events that happens on campus on a Saturday. You fit just right in. And I realized I made the right choice, because I met so many friendly people. And hey, I got to make a nice bracelet as well.
Yeah, for me, now that I'm in my fourth and final year, my time in uni is very much, it's like in a ticking clock now. I only have like 3 months left of uni. I am so grateful. I think my experience here has been amazing. Southampton has been one of, like, it's been such a huge part of my life. And I feel like university overall is going to be like that. But for me specifically, I've met some of my best friends in university. I had the chance to travel. The university was so supportive. I think having a university that's so supportive is just so important, especially when I speak to some of my other friends who are in different universities and they've gone through certain things. I'm like, oh my God, like, speak to like the support team and they're like, it's not as helpful. And I'm like, okay, Southampton's doing something very, very well. So I'm so happy with my choice. I think I couldn't have done anything better, and I wouldn't have done it any differently, because I am at where I am right now in the studio.
It's so lovely to hear that, because I know my August is usually really busy and gets, it's stressful for applicants, and on the other side, admission staff are it's really busy. But it's so lovely to hear, about your experiences and how, positive you are about kind of being here at Southampton and, going through the clearing process, but kind of forgetting, almost like, it's behind you, you're on, your direction to graduation.
It feels like such a huge part, or like a huge moment when you're dealing with it. And it's like it takes over everything, but then as soon as it's done, it's literally like weight off your shoulders. Like it's done, you know what your next step is, and you just focus on what's to come. So
Freshers week.
Honestly, I was so grateful for all the support I got, like in university. I thought maybe I sort of had to rely a bit more on myself, because I think you also mentioned how your friends, they were like in different universities and they felt like they couldn't go to the student services. That was sort of me when I was in that other university. I felt like I couldn't go for help and I couldn't go for support. But in my case, yeah, I got quite lucky in Southampton where, you can actually go to the student hub. You could call them up on the phone. They're open 24/7. You can talk about anything and they will literally just listen to you, which is quite nice as a student to be heard even. And like for myself, I'm also in the Ignite group. So I have like my own little like support there as well, where I could sort of go to them and talk to them about things. And honestly, I'm just so grateful for all the help that I've been given, and it's helped support my journey throughout the whole of university.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was so amazing to hear everyone's insight and about all your experiences. And on that note, we will now be joined by Angelina, Director of UCAS Media and former Head of Strategic Marketing here at Southampton. So now everyone's gone, and we've got our special guest, Angelina, with us. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. And I'm really pleased to be back at Southampton. Obviously, this is where I started my career in higher education, student recruitment 20 plus years ago, dare I say. So it's been really nice going around campus, feeling a bit of nostalgia. Really pleased to be here. Thank you.
Amazing. So do you think you could tell me a little bit of what you do in UCAS? Like what role do you exactly play and any information you could share with us?
Yeah, no, of course. I'm Director of UCAS Media. So everyone knows UCAS as the National Admissions Service. So where you go to fill in your application form in order to go to university. But obviously we do a lot more than that. We do a lot of information, advice and guidance for students from sort of 16 plus, as well as a lot of support for teachers, advisors and universities. And clearing is a massive thing for us. We're kind of the linchpin between students, universities and schools. So it's a really big operation for us. And my role at UCAS as Director of UCAS Media is really working with universities and colleges, as well as other organisations, employers, accommodation providers, other brands, and really connecting them with the students sort of in the moments that matter. So it's really nice, having worked in universities, as I said, for most of my career, to now being able to work with all the universities in the UK and just supporting them in their marketing and recruitment activities. And it's also quite timely because my eldest is just he's doing his A-levels at the moment and hoping to go to university in the autumn. So I'm kind of seeing it from a student's perspective firsthand and a parent's perspective firsthand. So it's quite nice just seeing that different lens on things, and especially seeing like what information they read and what information they don't.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. And actually, that's perfect because it takes us to my first question for today, which is what cool tips, as someone who works inside UCAS, could you share with students who are prepping for clearing?
I think the biggest bit of advice is just not to panic. I think what happens is people hear the word clearing, they think it's this mad rush just on one day and that you've got to make decisions instantaneously. And I think that creates that sort of sense of stress about all of it. But actually, you've got an awful lot of time when you're thinking about clearing, and there's lots of time to consider, consider your options, consider alternatives in order to really make the right choice for you. So we know that a lot of students, they start researching their clearing options, some as early as January after they've submitted their application form, but others really from now, sort of June onwards, we see that research into clearing options happening. And I think it's just important to just take that time to think, okay, I may be going to university, but is it the right choice for me? Is it not? And just, as I said, researching your options. And there's so many tools out there that can help you. If you take, for example, the UCAS Hub, many students will be familiar with that because they used it when they were doing their application, searching out those options. Just do that again. Go back into the UCAS hub, look at what alternatives there are for you there, start favouriting them. You can get a collection, make sure you know all the contact details so that actually on the day you've got everything to hand. So we know from our clearing survey that 80% of students that were placed in clearing had researched, from well before, but at least from June onwards, into what universities and colleges they wanted to contact. So we've talked about going back onto the UCAS hub and using the favouriting tool, but you can also use the historical grades on entry tool, which my son absolutely loves, because you can actually look at the universities and see what grades they actually took of students that they accepted. It is historical. It's the last 3 years application cycle, but it really does give you a clear indication of your grades, and you can actually put your grades in and see what percentage of students they took with those grades. So it's an absolutely brilliant tool from that point of view. Also on UCAS, we've got the Clearing Plus, which is great. It's a bit like how Netflix operates, and it suggests other shows to watch. So it takes the choice down from, I think in Clearing last year, we had over 30,000 courses advertised, which is really overwhelming. And what Clearing Plus does is it matches the top 50 courses for you based on students with a similar interests and profile. So there's lots of tools, as I said, out there that can really support students at this time. It's never early enough to start researching. But the final tip I will leave you with is just to make sure that you keep your contact details up to date, especially if you've left school. You might want to update your email to your personal email rather than your school email, because obviously on A-level results day, UCAS, we will send out a notification and an email with your application status. So it's really important that you get that.
It's so cool to hear about all the new additions and tools that UCAS has added for clearing to make life a lot more easier. And there's so many new things that I'm hearing about that when I went through clearing did not exist. So knowing that the next cohort and the current cohort have all of these options makes me a little bit jealous. But it's good. It's really, really good. On that note, there are a lot of anxieties with clearing, as we've already touched upon briefly. Do you think you can bust any myths that can be quite apparent? So we know that a lot of the time clearing just has a really bad association that always because, I didn't get my grades but yeah, any myths that you can bust for us today about clearing?
There's always there's so many myths that you hear. There's always a few around UCAS itself, in terms of people think that UCAS updates at midnight. So it's important to be clear that we don't. It's 8 a.m. You have to wait till 8 a.m. I'm afraid on the 13th of August.
That hasn't changed.
But also as well, people think they get their exam results from UCAS. And again, you don't. You just get your notification of your application status change. You still have to get your exam results from the school or college that you've been attending. And then the other one that comes up a lot is that UCAS makes the decisions. We don't. That's obviously the universities and colleges call based on your exam results. So there's a few myths there, but I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head about the biggest myth to bust is that clearing is just for those who haven't got the grades that they expected. And actually, ironically, that's actually the smallest percentage of people now that go through clearing. It really has changed over the last few years, especially. And so what we see is the people who wake up on A-level results day and are disappointed, it's only about 23% of the total clearing population. So what's that, less than a quarter? And actually the biggest group are the ones who have done better than they expected, and they think, okay, I'd like to look for a university that perhaps is a better fit, perhaps a bit more aspirational. Or we've got what we call the mind changers, who are just like, actually, it wasn't the right decision for me to pick that university for whatever reason. A lot of it can be personal reasons, but some of it can perhaps be associated, we see, with the cost of living and wanting to be closer to home. Or I suppose conversely, they might want to move further away from home. home. So it's completely changed, as I said, in its complexion. So it really is just, it needs to be viewed as an opportunity, because this is a really big decision, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's where you're going to spend 3+ years of your life. So it's important to make sure you get it right. And clearing is just really another pathway now to do that.
It's amazing, because I remember waking up on results day, getting into the uni that I wanted to, and I was like, actually, I want to take a bit of a gap year, deferred my year,
Yeah,
and then woke up
100%.
the next following year on results day, and I was like, actually, I don't want to go to this uni anymore.
Yeah.
And I went through clearing and found what I wanted, and here I am 4 years later, nearly done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. Clearing really does give students the options to look beyond what they kind of already had planned.
Yeah. And also it's one of the, or preconceived ideas is that clearing is just this one day. And actually clearing opens on the 2nd of July. So you can go on to UCAS.com and see all the courses that are available in clearing. As I said, we've got tens of thousands, and they keep getting updated. And it goes all the way through to the 19th of October.
Very long time.
It is.
Big
So
window.
people do think, oh, it's just that one day, but it's not. And universities and colleges are geared up for dealing with students throughout that entire period. So there is plenty of time, and it's, as I said, it's just important to do your homework, have a plan B, and just be ready for when you get your results.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Then what could you tell me about the current cycle? So what's different about clearing this year, and what would help students, or just as importantly, their parents and those who support them, to understand clearing this year?
I suppose the main difference this year is that we had an earlier decline by default deadline, which was on the 6th of May. So that's when all students who had received their offers from universities and colleges by the 31st of March had to respond to that offer. What that's meant is this year we have had 90% of students responding to that offer, whereas before it was only 2/3. So we've just got a bit more certainty about the shape of the cycle now. And what we see is that we've had a lot more applications this year, which is great. So those students wanting to go on to higher education. And we've also seen then universities and colleges responding by making more offers to those students. So I think on the whole, it's going to be very similar to previous years. But as I've mentioned before, there's going to be plenty of choice still, plenty of courses. So, get on, have a look, check out what's going on. And as I said, just prepare that plan B.
That's really helpful. And on that hand, what advice would you give to parents and just those who are supporting someone through this application process?
No, absolutely. I think it's about having those big conversations and early on, as I said. So, as I said at the start, experiencing it for the first time myself as a parent, it's having those conversations about how they're feeling and what they're thinking. I know my son has been having a bit of a wobble. Oh, Mum, have I made the right decision? Because it feels so enormous. So it's just, building their confidence, that they've spent, 18 months researching and looking for the right university. So, they have made the right decision. But at the same time, like you said about your experience, there are still options, and then having those discussions in order to work through those options. And if, for example, their young person is maybe concerned they might not get the grades, or that they are changing their mind for whatever personal reason, seeing what alternatives are out there. But I would also really recommend that even if they're very confident in their choice and they're confident in their grades, to just still be having those discussions and see what alternatives are out there. And I think it's just really important to see clearing, as I said earlier, just as an opportunity. And there's lots of resources out there for parents. I know universities and colleges are really good at putting support on for parents in order to understand, but also UCAS.com. We've got videos and webinars and experts just talking about what the actual process is. And I think it's really important as a parent, especially if you've not been through it before, to familiarise yourself with the process. So as I said, you can prepare everything ahead of time so that on the day you've just got it all to hand, and then you can just go from there.
Amazing. Very, very well said. So then, if you were speaking to a student or just a parent who's feeling quite unsure, quite anxious about clearing and just the whole process, what would your main advice to them be? Or just any sort of advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think firstly, it is just natural, isn't it? They're at a stage where, they're in limbo, they're doing their exams, but they haven't got the results. They don't quite know what that future's going to be. So the first thing is, try not to panic. It's going back to having those discussions, what alternative courses or universities might there be out there if things don't go as planned, or if I get better than expected, or I decide I want to change my course, what are those other options? So in a way, I sound like a stuck record, but I just think now is the perfect timing to just be doing all of that preparation. And the more that you can do ahead of time means you don't have that stress and that worry rushing around trying to do it on A-level results day. And I think the most reassuring part again is that clearing is not about you haven't done well and therefore you're a failure. I mean, as I've said, many more people are going through clearing who have got the grades or even exceeded the grades and just want to do something different than they originally intended, rather than haven't done as well as they wanted. So it's really just an opportunity to just double check, sense check that you're going to the right place for you. You are there for 3 years, as I said, and you just want it to be right and have the right, vibe for you.
Yeah, I suppose it's also just remembering the fact that there's no one behind in this. It's not a race, and it's all a journey, and everyone's journey is a little bit different.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you should always be open to, changing your mind. It's not the end of the world. Yeah.
Okay, so next question is just getting into the sort of nitty-gritty a bit more. Students can only choose from one clearing choice. Can you talk to us more about why that is and why that is beneficial for students?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose the main thing is that clearing is different from the main application cycle, isn't it? Yeah. When you're looking initially, you're looking at a number of options because you don't know what your exam results are. Therefore, you don't know what university you'll be accepted into. So you sort of have this broad choice. And then you choose your firm and insurance. Whereas when you're going through clearing, you have got your results. So you can, when you talk to a university, you can say what your grades are, and then they will accept you on the spot. So it's sort of more of a binding contract in that way. But my advice is, though, you can speak to as many universities as you want to, and you can collect those informal offers. It's just that you can only accept the one offer, and I suppose it's important just to make sure that that's the right one that you want, and then when you accept it on UCAS, then that is your final offer, and it makes it fairer because spaces aren't being held that you're not going to. And I just think as well for the student, you've made that decision, and then you can move on to the really exciting part of your life, can't you, by imagining going there and start to plan your future.
Yeah, very, very true, to be fair. And one of the biggest challenges, I guess, for the students is deciding and making that decision of whether they want to release themselves into clearing. So with that being said, what advice would you give them while they're going through this decision-making process?
Yeah, so there is a button on UCAS, Decline My Place, which is when you want to self-release into clearing. But as I've said, I think in terms of the decision-making process, start now, start doing your planning so that actually on the day you're in control, you know what you're going to do. And actually our research shows that most students perhaps only contact one university on clearing because they have done their research up front. So you'll already be in control. You already really know what you're doing. As I said, you'll have lots of, if you've contacted more than one, you'll have your informal offers. So when you're ready to choose, then you can release yourself into clearing using that button. But it isn't just a click once and you're done. Once you click the button, you're then taken to a page that gives you a bit more supporting advice and actually takes you through a series of questions as well, which may actually just point you back to phoning the university. You don't need to use the self-release button. So we make sure that there's sort of safety nets, if you like, when you're using Decline My Place. But the most important thing is before you click on the button, just have an email that clearing offer that you want from the university you want.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, finally, what would you, from your own perspective, since you have like a rounded view of clearing as a whole, what do you think universities should be doing to support students more during this process?
I think what we know, and especially from the clearing survey that we do with students each year, is they really want very focused, practical information. At this point in the cycle, they want to know, what courses are available, what life at the university is going to be like, most importantly, how to get in touch with the university, and also accommodation. It's important throughout the process that you're not just looking at availability of courses, you're also looking at accommodation, because that does play a big part, both in terms of the cost of accommodation, really look into that to make sure it's affordable, but also as a clearing student, does the university support you moving into university-owned accommodation, or are you going to have to find your own accommodation? So I think making, if universities can make sure that is easy to find and easily understood, making sure it's in really clear language, then and from now, as I've said, students are starting to research really from now right the way through till August. So making sure that is available and clear on the website or via email is really, really important. I think students are also wanting to look at other areas such as wellbeing, so the support they get from a pastoral point of view, but also from academically, and also financial support. Many students are looking at what financial support is available. So again, these are all really important information to make sure that you're getting out there. And the other bit of advice that we give universities is that although all the students are coming through the clearing pathway, their needs and motivations are very, very different. So you need to make sure that you're tailoring your communication, because a student, for example, that's coming and that's going to live in halls of residence is going to need very, very different information than perhaps a student who's going to be living at home and going to be commuting in. So just really make sure that you're personalising that communication to make sure they get the information they need to make the right choice.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great chatting.
But on that note, that's all we have time for on today's episode. Thank you, Emma, Justine, and Yazmin, as well as a huge thank you to Angelina for coming to Southampton to provide her wealth of knowledge on all things clearing. It's great to chat in this way and bust some myths, as well as hopefully offer some reassurance for those who need it. Maybe it will help you, your parents, and supporters too. If you have any questions or topics you want our future podcast episodes to cover, drop us a comment and we'll see what we can do. Or if you still have unanswered clearing questions, feel free to drop us a comment as well. Good luck with everything this year brings, and we hope to see you on another episode of Southampton Sessions.